Hey guys, you sort of have McGann back here after a very long absence from doing their I Read It videos, which is where I'm going over the Harry Potter books chapter by chapter for the first time ever in my life. Today is chapter 22, The Unexpected Task, which is apparently Harry's issue with having to have a date. And before we get started, I do just want to briefly explain my absence. I am having a horrendous time being a single parent and trying to keep up with everything and manage everything and having, people going in all these different places. And I had my oldest graduate last year. Now he's moved out. So it's one less person that I have to schedule for and also one less person that I have to assist in any way, shape, or form. I'm also losing a lot of time to being in a more serious, more committed relationship than I previously was. I also had to change computers, so if you notice that I look a little bit funny, that's because I cannot find the thing I used to put on top of my computer so that I could have the camera back nice and far away and get the lighting just right and be able to film from my desk without using the subpar camera that is on that computer. We also just got 2 kittens, which are a lot. Here's one of my fat little kitty goober babies. She's a tiny little thing, but she chonky. That was Ringo. Adora's off hiding somewhere. She's really skittish. They taped her in a box with her brother and threw her out of the car, so she's got some trauma. We've had holidays and birthdays and weddings and everything else going on that just makes things difficult to get done. And the unfortunate reality is that I'm just not enjoying this book and all the teenage angst. I know I'm 20 years older than the average target audience for this series, but yeah, it's just not doing it for me. So between all of that and my partner wanting to start a board game division of everything, which is like adding another part-time job on top of me, and I'm helping him clear out his storage unit and sell his things because he doesn't know how to do eBay or Mercari, and that's another part-time job on top of me. I had my car stolen, I got divorced this year, I was hospitalized briefly. 2023 has been a mess for me. See, even just there, I'm having to text my boyfriend the UPS QR codes so that he can get his stuff shipped off. It's a whole song and dance. So yeah, I'm just frazzled and crazy and doing the best I can, but thank you for your patience, thank you for sticking with me, and thank you for leaving me comments because that has really helped to get my butt in gear to come back and do this. Now, I cannot promise you how consistently I'm going to get through the rest of this book, but I am dedicated to finishing this book at least. So on to my handy dandy notes. In chapter 22, we are starting out in the Transfiguration class, and they're turning guinea fowl into guinea pigs. So they're changing animals into other things right now. They're taking organic living beings and making them other organic living beings. And that's interesting. I'm not sure if they have specifically said that they've done this before, but then again, I started this book, let's see, I know I wrote down the date I started, April 23rd, 2021. So I'm almost 3 years into trying to finish this one book. So please forgive me and remind me in the comments if my brain is getting a little bit fuzzy with these details. So while in Professor McGonagall's class, Harry and Ron are sword fighting in the back, and I'm just kind of wondering what happened to Harry's dread. He was all about that dread and oh so concerned about the tournament, and now he has time to do this weird goofing off in class. This is the kind of stuff that really makes me not like Harry as a character. He's not respectful, he's not even grateful to be like, oh, I have this reprieve time. He's just messing around and making it harder on his professors. And at the end of class, it's announced that a Yule Ball is part of the tournament, and it's open to 4th years and above. Now, I don't remember that being a specific thing, so I'm guessing that they left that out of the movie when I saw it way back in, 2004, 5 when it came out. But that's why we never see a Yule Ball after the 4th year. It's because it's only connected to the Triwizard Tournament. And how lucky that the tournament happens every 4 years, and it happens right on Harry's 4th year, so he has no risk of ever seeing it again. So lucky, 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 convenient lucky. And it's stated that dress robes are required and that the dance will go from 8 p.m. to midnight on Christmas Day. And my first impression was, so nobody's gonna go home for the holidays like they always do. It's usually like Harry, Ron, and a handful of other people left behind. So why would you have the ball at such an inconvenient time? That doesn't make any sense. Wizards, use some logic. And then we get told that all champions have to dance with a partner of their choosing to open up the Yule Ball. And Harry's like, I don't dance. I don't want to dance. You can't make me do this. And I kind of empathize with that because he's a teenage boy. He already feels like the school kind of has it out for him, or a lot of the students do at least, because they think he cheated his way into the tournament. So being up on display like that, yeah, that is not what the average teenage anybody would want to deal with. However, McGonagall tells him it's tradition, so suck it up and deal with it, Potter. And he's just, and it's like, I gotta do this, no, I don't wanna. Which should just be the title of this book, really. Harry Potter and the I don't want to do this, but I gotta. And Harry finally decides that he wants to ask Cho Chang out, who's actually a 5th-year student in Ravenclaw. I know she was mentioned before. I'm not sure if it was this book or the last book, but I remember that she plays Quidditch, but I don't remember that she's older than him. So yes, I don't foresee this working out well, even though it resolves by the end of the chapter. However, before Harry asks Cho anything, he gets 3 girls that come up and ask him out, and Harry just automatically rejects all 3 of them. And he's like, well, I wonder if they're only asking me out because I'm one of the champions. But I mean, for goodness sakes, is he not still Harry fucking Potter, the chosen one? I don't think the championship is all that would make him a catch to some of these girls. Then the trio go off to do Care of Magical Creatures, and they find out that Hagrid had an interview with Rita Skeeter, and Skeeter was asking for all of these questions on Harry's behavior and how he did like his schoolwork and if he acted up in class. And they're like, oh great, she's trying to dig up dirt on me so that she can keep writing stories about me, but now she wants bad stories. And I don't know. I don't really have a good enough impression of Rita Skeeter. I feel like the book wants us to see her as sort of a villainous character, but there's a lot of reasons that she could ask these different questions to Hagrid. Maybe she wants to make Harry look more sympathetic. I don't think that's the way it's actually gonna go, but I'm just saying it's a possibility. And then Hogwarts is getting all decked out for the Yule Ball, and Harry hears that the Weird Sisters band might play at the Yule Ball too, which he doesn't know who they are, but apparently it's a very popular Wizarding World group. But they also give no mention of what kind of music that is. So I don't know if we're talking about like a string quartet or a rock band or a Shakespearean song band, whatever that would be. But they're very popular and they may or may not be at this dance. So then we go back to the Gryffindor common room, and Hermione's kind of getting on Harry's case going, hey bud, don't you think you might need to figure out what that egg is about that you got from the last part of the tournament? And Harry's like, nah, I have all the way until, what was it, February 24th before I have to figure that out, so I can, like, crack it open the night before. And Hermione's like, dude, what if that takes you, like, weeks to figure out what's going on with that egg and what you're supposed to take out of it? And he's like, yeah, who cares? So, yeah, he went from having all of this dread, all of this doom, to be nonchalant and not caring about what's next and what danger lies ahead for him. I don't get that, because if dragons were task number 1, I could not imagine that the other tasks are going to be better. If you're opening with dragons, you're closing with something fantastical and insane. I'm just saying, you do not warm up with the best and hardest task. Then George and Fred walk over, they ask Ron to borrow Pigwidgeon, and they've been sending these secret letters that nobody knows anything about. I'm guessing it's something to do with gambling, but I have no idea. Either that or maybe they're doing some kind of business deal to sell their products. And the trio are kind of asking George and Fred, like, well, who are you taking to the dance? And Fred's like, oh, I'm taking Angelina. Apparently Fred had not asked Angelina out, so he just sort of looks over his shoulder and goes, hey, Angelina, you want to go to the dance with me? And she's like, yeah, okay. And then goes back to talking to her friends. It's such a funny little interaction, and it makes Ron and Harry's inability to get dates just absolutely pathetic looking by comparison. Ron and Harry are totally overthinking it instead of just doing it. And I can't remember exactly why, but a Gryffindor named Eloise Midgen comes up and Ron's like, ew, I wouldn't want to go with her. Like, she looks like a troll. She has acne and her nose is crooked. Ew, yuck. And again, on the one hand, teenage boy syndrome. On the other hand, even though Eloise is not real, I'm getting really tired of J.K. Rowling describing so many girls in Hogwarts as being ugly for this or that reason. I know they're not real people with real feelings, but somebody else is reading this and they look like Eloise and they are probably feeling very hurt. So Ron and Harry end up making this agreement where, okay, by the next time we come back to the common room, we are gonna have dates, dagnabbit. And Harry still wants to ask Cho, but she always has this army of followers around her. And Harry finally asks Cho to go off by herself and talk with him. And I guess he gets so nervous that he says, "Want to go ball with me?" instead of "want to go to the ball with me, my dear lady." And it turns out that Cho has already been asked by Cedric Diggory and she accepted, so Harry drug his feet too long, he's out of luck. And because of that, Harry starts out the chapter thinking that Cedric is a pretty good guy, but he suddenly shifts his mindset and he's thinking that Cedric is a useless pretty boy who doesn't have enough brains to fill up an egg cup. So because Harry's jealous that Harry drug his feet and did not ask Cho out fast enough, and he did this while knowing that she was popular and had so many friends and so many admirers, that Harry messed up, and so boo to Cedric. And again, I in some ways appreciate the realism for how a teenage boy thinks, but Harry Potter has never once risen above and had a good attitude about anything. It's all been doom and gloom. These people are out to get me. I don't like anybody but my, two friends. And it just seems like such a crappy attitude to constantly have for the wizarding Jesus Savior guy. Anyways, going back to the Gryffindor common room, the fat lady painting is now accepting the password fairy lights, which, while this has been a factor where it comes up over and over again of like, oh, Neville can't get back in the common room because he forgot the password or somebody changed it and didn't tell him. It does seem like this password business is a lot of hassle. And I get you don't want Slytherin sneaking in and messing up your stuff, but there are so many kids at Hogwarts. How could you ever get these constantly updated passwords to everybody? It has to be more than just like Neville that's getting locked out. But Harry gets inside the common room and he sees Ron just looking forlorn, and Ginny's over there trying to comfort him. And it turns out that Ron tried to ask Fleur Delacour out, and she didn't even give him a reply, but Ron came to his senses and ran away. Ron took his shot, he swung, he missed, he failed gloriously. And then it comes out that Neville asked Hermione to go to the dance with him, but she already had a date. So she had to tell Neville no, but she wouldn't say who she was going with. And so Ron gets this really bad attitude about it. It's like, oh, she's lying. Nobody would go with her. And it's like, just because Ron hasn't seen Hermione as an attractive or desirable person, it's almost like Harry with Cedric. Ron is mad that someone else sees Hermione as desirable or attractive. And so just based on Ron's own mood, he's just really kind of mean about it and dismissive about it. And he heckles Hermione. And he's like, come on, you don't really have a date, so just go with either me or Harry so that one of us have a date. You can fill in for us because you're a girl. And that was apparently the only standard that he needed to have met at that point in time. No longer had to be a beautiful girl, or at least the most beautiful girl who would have him. Just Hermione being a girl was enough to fulfill the quota he needed. And Hermione gets mad, rightfully so, and she kind of huffs away, and Ginny says, with kind of a tone of embarrassment, that she's gonna go with Neville, but then she plays it off like, well, he asked and I wanted to go, so since I'm only a third year, I can't go without a fourth year or higher inviting me. So it's kind of like she's using him to get entry, and I don't love that for Neville. I know by teenage standards he's kind of pathetic and losery, but he is sweet and kind and genuine. And you're telling me not one girl in Gryffindor or any other house sees that and appreciates it? No, this will not stand. But as Harry and Ron are lamenting their fates without dates, Lavender and Parvati walk into the common room, and Harry just rushes over and asks Parvati out, and she's like, okay, and then Harry's like, hey Lavender, will you go with Ron? And Lavender's like, no, I already have a date. Lavender's going with Seamus. And Harry's like, well, do either of you know anybody who would go with Ron? And Parvati's like, I can ask my sister, she's in Ravenclaw, her name is Padma, she might be free. And the chapter ends with Harry thinking to himself that, oh, I hope Padma's nose is perfectly straight so Ron doesn't complain. Like, F Ron at this point. He is such a mean little twit. But that was all of my notes for this chapter. I do kind of like that we have this high school gossipy sort of thing going on. However, it is definitely a filler chapter. I don't feel like it gave us anything as far as the main story is concerned. And these kind of chapters are sort of the best and worst of this book because it just drags it out. I think I still have 15 more chapters after this. And if we just cut out all the weird fluff, this would go so much faster and be so much more interesting. And I think that's why I really preferred the movie out of all the movies. I loved the Goblet of Fire movie because it felt like the third movie just drug on forever. They didn't even look like students. They were wearing regular clothes. The second movie was like a Scooby-Doo thing. The first movie just kind of had so much expositing that you lose a lot of valuable story time, and the fourth movie just really figured it out, and they were like bang, 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 bang. But I do not feel that way about the books. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, share. All of those things are free for you, and they really help me out. And please do leave me comments. I'm trying to record several of these while I'm taking a holiday break with Coraline scene-by-scene videos over on the Fangirl Channel. But this is, again, a very long and tedious process that I'm doing days before Christmas when I still have stuff to buy and wrap and holiday events to get to and kid activities and everything else. So please believe me when I say I'm doing my best. I have no idea how many I'm actually going to get recorded, but I'm trying. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time, Fanily members. Bye! If you had fun watching today's video, don't forget to subscribe so that you can see more, and let us know in the comments what other videos you might want to see in the future. Also, don't forget to check out our other channel, The Fangirl, where we talk about all kinds of movies, TV shows, and even books and comics. But viewer discretion is advised. See you next time, Fanily members!